My name is Melissa. I'm 31 years old, and if there's one lesson I've learned the hard way, it's that words, especially the ones spoken carelessly, can destroy even the most seemingly unbreakable bonds. For 4 years, Ryan and I were married. On the surface, our relationship was flawless. He had a stable job, was kind, thoughtful, and never missed a morning without making me coffee. He remembered every anniversary, always asked how my day was, and genuinely cared. But somewhere along the way, I began to feel restless. At first, it was subtle. Small irritations that never used to bother me. The way he'd check on me when I was clearly fine. The predictability of his love. The gentleness that once made me feel cherished but, over time, started to feel suffocating. It didn't help that my friends, especially Jenna, would joke about their wild encounters. Their nights filled with passion, intensity, and bruises worn like battle scars. I'd laugh along, pretending to relate, but deep down, a question gnawed at me. Why didn't Ryan ever take control like that? I never voiced it. I never asked for more. Instead, I let it fester, building inside me like a slow-burning fire, until it finally consumed everything. It happened on a Thursday night. We were in bed and things were fine, just like always. That was the problem. When it was over, the words tumbled out before I could stop them. Why don't you ever act like a real man in bed? I didn't look at him when I said it. My gaze was fixed on the ceiling, regret already sinking in. But pride held me back from taking it back. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. When I finally turned my head, he was lying there, frozen, as if I had slapped him. I tried to soften my words. I'm just saying sometimes I want you to be a little more assertive. You're always so careful, like you're afraid of me. Still nothing. Then he sat up, swung his legs over the edge of the bed, and in the quietest voice I had ever heard from him said, "So I'm not man enough for you?" My heart plummeted. That wasn't what I meant, or at least not exactly. But instead of apologizing, I panicked. Scoffed. Don't be so dramatic, Ryan. It's just feedback. He stood up and walked to the closet. At first, I thought he just needed a moment, maybe to grab a hoodie and cool off. But then he pulled out a suitcase. I sat up, my chest tightening. Wait, what are you doing? He didn't answer. He just started packing. Ryan, come on. It wasn't that serious. Can you stop overreacting? He finally turned to me. His eyes devoid of anger. Just empty. This isn't about one night, Melissa. It's about all the times I've tried. All the ways I've never been enough for you. Tonight you just finally said it out loud. I opened my mouth to respond, to take it back, to fix it, but nothing came out. He zipped up his bag, walked to the door, and paused just long enough to say, I'd rather be alone than feel this small in the arms of someone who doesn't want me. Then he left. I stared at the door for what felt like hours, expecting him to come back. That was our pattern. I'd explode, he'd absorb it, and we'd move on. But not this time. 3 days passed. Silence. No texts, no calls. I sent one message. Can we talk? He responded with a single sentence. You said what you meant. That's when it hit me. He wasn't coming back. I replayed that moment in my head over and over. The way I said it, the way he froze. It wasn't just about sex. It was about everything. The way I never gave him space to lead. The way I criticized instead of communicated. The way I chipped away at his confidence with every sarcastic remark, every eye roll, every casual confession to a friend. Ryan's sweet, but he's not exactly a tiger in bed. I thought I was being honest, clever, funny. But all I was doing was breaking the man I claimed to love. A week later, I found out he was staying at his brother's place. I went there unannounced, desperate. I knocked. He opened the door, surprised, tired, older. Can we talk? He asked. He stepped outside, closing the door behind him. We sat on the front steps in silence for a moment. Then I said what I should have said that night. I'm sorry. Not just for what I said, but for all the ways I made you feel small. I thought being strong meant being in control. But you were always the strong one. I just never saw it. He nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't soften. Do you mean that because you want me back? Or because you finally realize what you lost? That question shattered me because the truth was, I didn't realize it until it was too late. I never saw how rare a man like him was. And now I had broken him beyond repair. We talked for a while, civil, sad, honest. He told me he still loved me but didn't trust me with his heart anymore. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And I had to accept that. Now 2 months have passed. We talk sometimes, cordial, careful, but it's not the same. He's different now. More sure of himself, like walking away gave him something I never could. I still sleep on my side of the bed, hoping one day he'll walk back in and say he's ready to try again. But deep down I know the truth. Some wounds don't heal just because you finally say the right thing. Some cracks don't close just because you're sorry. And sometimes, the one who seemed too soft was the only one strong enough to leave.